Have you ever stumbled upon something that just felt off? Something that wasn't meant for you to find? That's what happened to Leo. He was cutting through the old abandoned lot behind the cannery, a shortcut he'd taken 1,000 times. But this time, something was different. Half buried in the overgrown weeds and dirt, something glinted. It was a small vintage tape recorder, the kind with chunky silver buttons and a little red light. It was caked in mud, but surprisingly intact. Leo, being a bit of a collector of oddities, brushed it off and slipped it into his jacket pocket. He didn't think much of it, just another piece of forgotten history. Later that night, curiosity got the better of him. He cleaned the recorder, popped in some fresh batteries, and was amazed when the little red light blinked to life. A cassette tape was already inside. Its label was blank, faded by time and weather. He took a deep breath, a small smile on his face, and pressed the play button. What came out of the speaker wasn't music. It wasn't a forgotten interview or a message from the past. It was a sound that made the air in his apartment turn cold. A scream, a desperate, terrified scream, raw and full of pain. But that wasn't the most terrifying part. He recognized the voice. It was his own. The scream was his. It sounded muffled, as if it was coming from deep underground, echoing up from some dark, forgotten place. His blood ran cold. He slammed the stop button, his heart hammering against his ribs. It had to be a prank, right? A sick, elaborate joke. How could anyone get a recording of him screaming like that? He'd never made a sound like that in his life. He rewound the tape, his hand trembling, and pressed play again. The same horrifying sound filled the room. His own voice, crying out in agony from beneath the earth. He ejected the tape, his mind racing. There was no rational explanation. He spent the rest of the night sleepless, the sound conducus in his mind. The next day, he felt compelled to go back to the abandoned lot. Maybe there was a clue, something he'd missed. He stood in the exact spot where he'd found the recorder, scanning the ground. The weeds, the dirt, the scattered debris, it all looked disturbingly normal. But as he stared, a strange feeling washed over him. A sense of dread, a feeling of being watched. He knelt down, his fingers tracing the indentation in the soil where the recorder had been. The ground felt soft, looser than the surrounding earth. He started digging with his bare hands, driven by a morbid compulsion he couldn't explain. The soil was damp and cool. A few inches down, his fingers brushed against something hard and smooth. Not a rock, it was metal. He cleared away more dirt, revealing a small, rusted metal box, padlocked shut. It was an old military-style ammo can. Where did this come from? The box was heavy, and it took all his strength to haul it out of the shallow hole. He shook it, but whatever was inside didn't rattle. It was packed tight. He carried it back to his apartment, his mind a whirlwind of fear and morbid curiosity. He didn't have a key for the padlock, so he grabbed a hammer and a chisel from his toolbox. With a few sharp strikes, the rusted lock sprung open. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the lid. What could possibly be inside? What could be connected to that horrifying recording of his own voice? Taking a final, shuddering breath, he lifted the lid. The box was filled to the brim with old, unlabeled cassette tapes. Dozens of them, all identical to the one in the recorder. He picked one out at random. It felt cold to the touch. He knew what he had to do. He had to know. He put the new tape into the recorder and, with a sense of impending doom, pressed play. This time, the voice that came out wasn't his. It was a woman's. She was sobbing, her voice muffled and distant, just like his had been. "Please," she cried, her voice cracking with despair. "Let me out. I don't know where I am." "It's so dark." Leo felt sick. He stopped the tape and grabbed another. A man's voice this time, coarse and panicked. "Who's there? Answer me. Is anyone there?" Each tape was a different person, a different voice, but they all shared the same terror, the same sound of being trapped underground. It was a collection of nightmares, a library of lost words. Leo backed away from the box, stumbling over his own feet. This wasn't a prank. This was something else. Something ancient and malevolent. The recorder wasn't just playing sounds. It was a window, a portal to his final, desperate moments. But why his voice? Why was he on one of those tapes? The thought was paralyzing. He couldn't get the image out of his head. All these people, their voices from some dark, earthen prison, were they real? Were these recordings of actual events? He grabbed his jacket and ran out of the apartment, leaving the box and the recorder on the floor. He didn't know where he was going, he just needed to get away. He ended up at the local library, frantically searching through old town archives and newspaper microfilms. He looked for anything related to the abandoned lot, disappearances, unsolved cases. Hours bled into one another. Then he found it. A small article from 40 years ago. A local man, a sound hobbyist named Alistair Finch, had vanished without a trace. His last known location? The area of the old cannery? The article mentioned he was known for carrying a portable tape recorder with him everywhere, obsessed with capturing ambient sounds. The picture accompanying the article showed a smiling man holding the recorder identical to the one Leo had found. A chill crawled up Leo's spine. Alistair Finch. Was he the first? The creator of this collection? Or was he just another victim, his own terrified voice immortalized on one of these tapes? Leo realized he was now part of this story. Finding the recorder wasn't an accident, it was a summons. He went back to his apartment, the dread now a cold, heavy weight in his gut. The box of tapes sat where he'd left it, a dark Pandora's box in the middle of his living room. He knew he should throw it all away, take it to the police, anything. But he couldn't. The question burned in his mind. Why was his voice on that tape? Was it a premonition? A warning? A destiny he was now chained to? He picked up the tape with his own voice on it, the plastic casing feeling like a block of ice. He put it in the recorder, his fingers moving as if controlled by someone else. He pressed play. His own scream filled the room again, echoing from the depths. But this time he didn't stop it. He listened. He forced himself to listen to the raw terror in his own voice. And as the scream faded, another sound emerged from the static. It was faint, almost imperceptible. A whisper. A cold, dry voice that wasn't his. That wasn't human. It said a single word. Soon. The tape clicked and went silent. Soon. The word hung in the air, a death sentence. Leo understood now. The recorder didn't just find lost voices, it chose new ones. It had been waiting in that lot, waiting for someone to pick it up, to press play, to complete the circuit. Alistair Finch was likely the first of its collection, and now it had chosen Leo. His voice wasn't a recording of the past, it was a recording of the future. His future. A future where he would be screaming, alone, in the dark, deep beneath the earth. He looked at the recorder, this small, unassuming object that held his fate. He could smash it, bury it, throw it in the ocean. The prophecy had been spoken. The whisper had sealed his doom. The other tapes in the box were not just recordings. They were trophies, and the space had just been reserved for him. The next morning, a young woman named Clara was taking a shortcut through the abandoned lot behind the cannery. She was running late for work, her mind preoccupied. Then something glinted in the morning sun, half buried in the overgrown weeds. It was a small, vintage tape recorder. Curious, she picked it up, brushed off the dirt, and smiled. She had no idea that deep underground, a new space was being hollowed out, waiting. And in a nearby apartment, a man named Leo was gone, leaving behind nothing but an open, empty box. Thanks for watching this episode of Hollow Street. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Tales from the Shadows.